Today I'm going to give you a full guide on how to start a dog walking business. Years ago, I've already talked about how to start a dog walking business within 5 minutes. So it was a very, very quick walkthrough of only the most pertinent steps. So today I'm going to give you a more detailed rundown on many more steps that you need to take in order to get a professional dog walking business up and running. I'm Sue, your dog walking business guide. Before we get started, I created a worksheet so you can check off all the to-dos, and it will also give you useful links and resources, so you can download it for free below. To make this video a little bit more palatable, I have sectioned this video into 5 sections. First, we're going to talk about the pre-work, then we're going to talk about legalizing your business, then organizing your business, then the marketing aspect, and then the must-haves. So first you got to do the pre-work before you actually register the business. The first point within the pre-work section are service offerings. There are many service offerings, and I highly recommend that you choose between 3 and 5 in the beginning. See how it goes. Service offerings, for example, could be midday walking on an occasional basis, midday walking on a Monday through Friday basis. It could be dog sitting, cat sitting, small animal sitting. That would be for rabbits. It could also be for lizards, for snakes, and so on. In-home boarding, pooper scooping, hikes on and off leash, group walking. How do you choose your service offerings? Well, you choose by, first of all, where you live. So do you live in a rural area? If you live in a rural area, farm sitting might be actually a really good option. Or in-home boarding. If you live, for example, in an urban area, group dog walking might be a really profitable option. If you live in a suburban area, it might be midday dog walking, cat sitting, and so on. So just really look in regard to where you live, what kind of service is needed, and also, of course, with which kind of animals are you comfortable with which of them do you have enough experience with to actually provide amazing care. And don't think about it too long, make a decision and go with what you have chosen, and along the way you can alter it anyway, and you probably will. Second point you need to decide on are the rates. In this regard, you don't really have, if you're really just starting from the beginning, you don't have any kind of client base that can refer you via word of mouth. You don't have any Google reviews, any Yelp reviews. You probably don't even have a website yet. So you need to choose wisely what kind of rates you're going to go with. So what I highly recommend is researching your competitors. So look for 3 to 5 competitors. So really do the homework, rather look for more than less, and find out what they're charging for, like, let's say dog walking, farm sitting, whatever kind of services you want to offer. Check what they're charging. If they don't have it listed on their website, call them, email them, just pretend you're a client and find out their rates. And then once you actually have the rates listed, find out the average of what they're charging and go with that. Do not go lower than them, because you don't want to position yourself as a low-cost provider from the beginning. No, you want to make sure that you're on your way of being a premium provider. And just really quick, I just really want to explain something here if you haven't watched any of my other videos. Yes, a premium provider charges usually more than all of the other pet care providers in the area, but they're also providing an amazing value, meaning they're providing excellent care, they're providing pet first aid, CPR certification, and so on. So they're very well educated, and they're also doing an amazing job, and that's why they can actually charge so much money. Next up, it's your business name, and now it's starting to get a little bit more serious. You want to choose your business name, of course, wisely too, since we want to go that route of being a premium pet care provider. In regard to your business name, it's very wise to choose either the town that you're going to provide the service in, or the state, and or the main service that you're providing. So if it's dog walking, something with dog walking. If it's cat sitting, something with cat sitting, or pet care just in general. Because in the end, you will register a domain with your business name, and you want to make sure when somebody pops in, like let's say Maryland dog walking, maybe you already pop up because you kind of have these main keywords already in your domain. But that's just something to consider if you can. And try to think premium, as we always do, from the beginning. So do not use anything that's suggestive, cutesy, or gross in your business name. So how do you come up with your business name? It should be something you're obviously comfortable with saying out loud for the next 20, 30 years, or however long you want to have your business. And the best way to get started is making a list of 20 names, and then like not judging anything. So whatever name comes to your mind, just write it down. Do not judge it at this point. Make a list of 20, 30 business names, and then let it sit a little bit, and then just cut out like half of it, and then let it sit a little bit, and then cut out half again, and so on until you get like 2 to 3 business names. And then you can think about it a little bit more thorough. You can just do your laundry or go and grocery shopping and go about your day and see what kind of feeling you have about the other, like the 3 business names or 2 business names that you still have on your list. Once you make a decision on one business name, I recommend calling a relative or a friend and just talking to them. Let them know that you're starting a business. If they already know it, you can tell them either way, of course, what kind of name you want to go with, and keep on talking about whatever you need to talk to your friend or your relative. And then at the end of the conversation, ask them, hey, do you remember what kind of business name I wanted to choose? And you will see if they actually remember it, because one of the great characteristics of a business name should be that you can actually remember it. So if you're walking a dog and you are having a potential client on the other side of the street and you cannot give them a business card, you can just tell them the name, and it would be great if they can actually just remember it, and once they get home they just plug it in and Google it and can find you that way. So find out if it's memorable, and also you can gauge by their reaction if it's a business name that's appropriate, if it makes sense, what kind of feedback they give you, and yeah, go from there. Once you've come up with a business name, you need to Google it and make sure that it doesn't already exist. So if you have like Maryland dog sitting and Maryland dog sitting already exists, then obviously you cannot take it. But definitely always still make sure, it could be even in your country, countrywide, of course, that you cannot use the same business name. Something you should also consider, if you find a business name that's close to your business name, but it's not within the same industry, you might actually be able to use it. For example, Gold Tail Dog Walking or Golden Tail Dog Walking. It just came to my mind because it could be also another business that uses Golden Tail within their business name, but is in a complete different industry. So in that case, you might be actually able to use it because you're not in the same industry if you're doing business in the same state. So just really make sure that what your state laws are and your country laws are. Also check for domain availability. So if it's like Maryland Pet Sitting, check obviously marylandpetsitting.com. And then if the domain is available, amazing. Make a note of that, but don't buy it yet. Because first you need to go to the USPTO's Trademark Electronic Business Center website. The link is below. You can just click it and then you can check it. Because there you will search the trademark database and you will check if that exact business name that you want to register with your state, if that's already taken, if that's already trademarked. Obviously, if it's already trademarked, keep your hands off of it, stay away from it, and go back to your list and choose a different name. So if it's available, the next step is now to register the domain. So before you actually already checked if the domain is available, if it's still available, congratulations, you can now register your domain. And now we're going to come to the second section, legalizing. First item on this list in this section is choosing the legal and tax structure of your business. And you should not take that lightly. If you're not comfortable researching things yourself, you should definitely consult a business attorney or a tax consultant or both and see what they have to say within your circumstances and within your intentions of how you want to run your business and what kind of business you want to run, what they would recommend. Common legal structures are sole proprietorship, corporation, LLC, and partnership. You can go on sba.gov. I have the complete full link below. They explain every business structure in detail so you can make an informed decision. If you're in another country, if you're not in the United States, make sure you Google business structure, how to choose, and then your country, and go with an official page. Don't just go with any blog. Go with an official page from your country, from your government that explains it well to you. There are also websites that offer pro bono legal and tax advice that you might be able to actually get a mentor from and somebody that can advise you. Next up is an EIN, an employer identification number. I highly recommend getting an EIN before you register your business. If you're a sole proprietor, I believe you don't necessarily need an EIN. You could actually run your business with your social security number. But with all the fraud out there, why risk your social security number getting into the wrong hands when you can just have an EIN that gives a specific identification number specific to your business? An EIN you can get for free. It's super easy. It's super fast. You can literally get it within 20 minutes. The link is listed below in the description. So now you know the tax and legal structure of your business, and you also have your EIN. Now you can register your business. So that is the third point, registering your business. The cost of registering your business really depends on where you live, in which state you live. In some states it's really cheap, it's $50. In some states it's $350 or more. Something to be aware of, you will get every year a registration renewal reminder, which reminds you to file your annual report, which also carries another fee. But really honestly, compared to some other countries, that is really still a very easy and pretty cheap way to do business. But if you're not comfortable doing all that by yourself, then a service like LegalZoom might actually be of great help. But if you Google business registration plus your state, you usually find all the information that you really need, and you can go ahead and register your business. And something to consider, in some states you will need a separate state ID, so look out for that one as well. Next up is a business license. You might need a business license. It really depends. A business license is a local business registration. Check with your state, county, and town if you need one. It really also depends on the type of service that you're providing. For example, for in-home boarding, as far as I know, a lot of towns, pretty much all the towns in the US, require some kind of business license or registration. It's usually around $50 or even less, and it gives you the permission to have usually between 4 and 5 dogs in your home for dog boarding. But as always, do your own research and check. Next up is DBA, which means doing business as. When you register in your business, you are being asked about your DBA. If you come up with a business name that you want to choose as you're doing business as name too, then you don't have to fill anything in there. But if you're a sole proprietor, you definitely need a DBA because you cannot do business or receive payments under your personal name. Next up is sales tax, and that really varies between countries. So far in the United States, for dog walking at least, I think dog boarding it's different, but for dog walking, and it might change, there is no sales tax that needs to be charged. In order to find out if you need to charge sales tax, you just Google sales tax plus division of taxation plus your state, and then find that website that comes up, and then just call the number because they usually know what they're doing and they can tell you right away if you need to charge sales tax on the type of service you're providing. And next is bonding, and that's a subject that's a little bit near and dear to my heart because I've researched that extensively in the beginning while I was still a solo walker, while I didn't have any employees, if it actually makes sense to get bonding for yourself. But before I keep on talking, I just want to let you know what it actually is. So bonding. It protects policyholders for losses that they incur as a result of fraudulent acts by employees. And that is very, very important. If you are a solo walker, by the very definition of bonding, it will not do anything for you if you pay bonding for yourself, because you as the business owner, you are expected to not do any fraudulent activities because you are working in your best interest of your own business, which with employees it might not be always the case, and therefore bonding exists. And therefore you should get definitely bonding if you have employees. So you as a solo business owner, you do not have to get bonding. If you get bonding, it won't do anything for you if something happens. That is your business liability insurance, but the bonding will not do anything for you. So I know there are other voices out there that say, no matter what, just get bonding. It looks good on your marketing material. It looks professional. Really, honestly, there is nothing professional about it to get something just to say you got it, but it actually doesn't do anything for the client or for yourself. So the reason why a lot of people are saying just get bonding, even if you're a solo walker, if you're a solo worker, is because they're so programmed, or they think that people are so programmed to see licensed, bonded, and insured. You see that with a lot of plumbers out there and so on, and it makes sense because they have employees. If you don't have employees, it just doesn't make sense. Just put in licensed and insured, or whatever you really are, and then you're good with it. And really honestly, I don't even think clients are looking for that anymore. They're looking for Google reviews, they look for Yelp reviews, they look for word of mouth referral and so on. They look how you actually carry yourself in your email communication, on your website and so on. If a client asks you if you're bonded while you're a solo walker, just explain it to them, just like I explained to you. If you want to, I can make up an email, just put it in the comments that you can write to your clients, to your potential clients, to just explain the aspect and then just explain, okay, I do have business liability insurance that would protect you if something were to happen. That's my passionate take on bonding. If you're a solo walker, don't get it. Once you have employees, definitely get bonding. And the last point within the legalized section is getting your business insurance. It's not really anything legal in that aspect, but should something happen, you want to make sure that you are taken care of, especially financially, and the insurance pays for any damages that you may have caused or a dog under your care may have caused. So definitely, I highly recommend do not start a day with providing pet care without pet sitting insurance or some kind of business liability insurance. So I highly recommend petcareins.com, and they are pretty much the cheapest out there, and they also provide very good protection. They are starting at $13.33 per month. Pet sitting insurance, it's also a big part of being professional, and of course also to protect yourself, protect your personal assets depending on the business structure, and also protect your business assets and your business in general. Vet bills run up pretty high, pretty fast. Just think about how much it would cost if a dog ingests something, if he swallows something that he's not supposed to swallow, and then he has to have an emergency operation in order to take that out of his tummy, and so on. It could even be that you are in a client's home and you're using their toilet and somehow it floods and it damages the beautiful wooden floor. That can also run into pretty big bills very quickly. Next section is the organization, organizing yourself, and that's super important. It's really not just a scheduling software or something, it's actually the entire part of also being professional, because being organized means also being professional and vice versa. So the first point here is getting a business phone number. Sure, you can use your personal phone number, but would you really want all your clients to have your personal phone number and reach you at all sorts of hours during the day, even after like 10 p.m. because clients do that if they can. And also, even if you're just starting out, I do want you to think about what will happen once you actually have staff members. You don't want staff members calling on your private phone. Nope, you want them to call on a separate business phone number. And I have really good news. You can actually get a free business phone number super easy, very quickly, through a Google Voice number. All you need is already having a personal phone number, which you usually get through like AT&T or Sprint, something that's actually already attached to your name, and of course a Google email address. What you should actually do, get your business name at gmail.com, because you can use a lot of the Google services that are free. You can then access your Google Voice number with all the messages, like you can text through it, you can receive voicemail messages, you can have separate voicemails, you can read the messages, listen to the voicemails through the website on Google, but you can also download the Google Voice app, which then enables you to receive all the calls through your phone and also make calls through that number from your phone, which is amazing. And then also a great thing for the future, or just in general, if you have a business partner, for example, if you want your business partner or your staff members to have access to that number too, they can just download the same app, log in with that Gmail address, and then they have access to the same phone number. They can view the messages, they can respond to the messages, which is also great. If you're traveling, then you don't have to forward a number. You can literally just take that Google Voice app, it's on your phone. You can take it anywhere in the world where you have internet, and you can reach it just as amazingly as you can do in the US or wherever you are. Next up is a business address. Years ago, I would have recommended just going strictly with a UPS mailbox, because a UPS mailbox also gives you a physical address. In comparison with a USPS mailbox, where it actually gives you a PO box, where for every service, like even if you register your business, it's clear to the system that you're trying to register a business under a PO box, which is not possible. If you use a UPS mailbox, it gives you a suite number. So it's suite 111 instead of PO box 111, and it looks like a physical address. It acts like a physical address, but you cannot use it on your Google business profile anymore. What you can also do is use your personal address for the Google business profile, and then use a PO box for all marketing materials and so on, where clients see your address more and they won't really know where you live. But if you don't foresee a problem using your personal address as a business address, that's completely fine. That's something where it definitely changed from years ago from a recommendation. Then just use your personal address. It would make probably things easier for you in the long run. Next up is a business bank account. That's something you should definitely get. You always want to keep personal and professional finances completely separate. It's great if you ever have to go through a tax audit, or if you're being sued, or if there are any kind of legal issues. You want to make sure that your business is not seen as a hobby, but as a separate entity, depending on, of course, which business structure you use. A very important note here that I learned in the last few years: I personally always use Bank of America, so I didn't have any trouble with it. But some business owners that applied for the PPP loan, they had trouble receiving that loan because they needed to give their bank account, their business bank account information, in order to kind of prove also that they are running a business, not just a hobby, back to my point. And they had, for example, like some kind of online bank, and somehow they were not accepted from the government or whoever else provided the money, that they indeed were run as a business and they wouldn't get the loan. It was kind of hard for them to get to the money they actually deserve. So what I highly recommend is going with a major bank for your business bank account. If you don't want to use a bigger known bank because of the monthly fees, then I personally recommend Bank of America. I've been with them for many years. I do not get paid for this, unfortunately. What they offer at Bank of America, for example, in order to waive the monthly fees, if you're worried about that, I don't want to pay unnecessary monthly fees. If you have expenditures equal or greater than $250, then you will get the monthly fees waived. So eventually you will always have $250 in costs each month. So that's something where you wouldn't have to worry about the monthly fees and are actually with a reputable bank. Next up, I recommend a PayPal account. In order to receive payments, you need some kind of merchant service. A merchant service enables you to charge credit cards, debit cards, or just receive any sort of payments. There are many merchant services out there, for example, Stripe, Authorize.net, and so on, and they all charge fees. And PayPal, so far, what I really liked about them, you're not holding on to any credit card, debit card information. Clients can also pay with their PayPal account. So if they have some kind of security leaks or whatever, you're not affected by it because you're not holding on to any kind of card information. Yes, they do carry a credit card processing fees. That's just a way of doing business. What you can also do in the US, you can actually write those off as an expense. PayPal also easily integrates with pet sitting softwares out there. The next point is bookkeeping. No business will get around it. Bookkeeping is basically separating your sales from your expenses and then also categorizing it. So once tax time comes, you know exactly what kind of income you need to declare and also which expenses you can write off. If you're not comfortable doing your own bookkeeping, you can hire a bookkeeper. You can do it through a professional software like QuickBooks, which costs a monthly fee, or you can also use Wave apps, which at this point is still free. Next up are forms and service agreements. So this is kind of like a whole big topic. And if you want to get forms and service agreement, I'm just going to say it from the get-go. I do offer them for purchase, and there you can get all the forms, all the questions you need for pet sitting software and a complete service agreement. But I do want to, of course, talk about it more so you know exactly what you're dealing with. And also if you want to make up your own, you kind of already have a little basis to go on. But of course, I cannot just rattle off my entire service agreement because it has like 33, 34 points that are pretty detailed. But we're going to start with the forms. The forms are going to be a question that are going to be asked from your clients in order to provide the best care possible. So the first form should be a pet profile form. So a pet profile form is going to list all the information about the pet. So the name, the date of birth, the sex, if they're fixed or not, what kind of food they're eating, what kind of water they're drinking, so like filtered water or regular water, for example, what kind of medication they're getting, what kind of toys they like, where they like to hide if they do so in the beginning, what kind of route they like to take, and so on. So there are plenty of questions that you should ask your clients in order for you to have all the information at hand so you can take great care of that animal. A pet profile form should be obtained for every single pet that's in the household. So if you're taking care of 2 cats and there's also guinea pig and fish there, I also recommend getting a separate pet profile form for that guinea pig and also for the fish. So you know when the fish are being fed, what kind of special care they need. The guinea pig, of course, too, what kind of food it eats, what kind of food it likes, and so on. Then you need to also gather client information. So that would be like, for example, the client profile form. Within the client profile form, you ask where they, of course, live, if they have a lockbox, what the lockbox number is, where the lockbox is located, where you should park. Should you park on the street in front of the house, or can you park in the driveway, which is the entry door? So should you go in from the side, from the backyard in, or from the front? Is there a hidden key somewhere, which we don't want to deal with, but that's a whole nother subject. Where should the packages and the mail be placed once you actually collect them? What is the alarm code? What is the disarm code, the arm code? Where is the emergency water shut off? What kind of lights you should turn on and off? The next form they should also fill out for you is the veterinary release agreement. So should something happen with the pet in your care and you cannot reach that client, or you can reach the client, but you have to go to the vet with that pet, you need that veterinary release agreement in order to have something binding in your hand that you can actually provide care to that pet without you paying for the vet bills. So those are the most important forms that you definitely need to have in order to gather all the pertinent information from your clients. Really honestly, you don't actually need forms per se anymore. When you actually first meet with your client, which is called a meet and greet, that meeting should be used to get to know their client and to get to know the pet more and use the information that you have already collected electronically before that meeting to go over pertinent information or to go over some questions that you have. Instead of using forms, I highly recommend using a pet sitting software. Pretty much all the major players already have the basic questions, the basic information that you need to collect from your clients. They already have it on there once you actually sign up with the pet sitting software, so you don't really have to do so much more. There are more questions. I definitely think so that you should ask, and the pet sitting softwares give you as an option. Okay, let's get to the service agreement. That is one of the most important forms that you need to have signed by your clients, because the service agreement basically lays out the ground rules on how you're running your business and how your client should adhere to it. A service agreement can also change over time. For example, there are the cancellation policies in there. They have changed over time with me quite a bit because I have definitely become stricter in my business. Since a service agreement sets the ground rules and kind of lets your clients know what you expect from them and what they can expect from you, you should make sure once you have that service agreement drawn up, once you have it written, make sure that a business attorney looks over it if it makes sense. I'm going to go over the main points that you definitely need to have covered in your service agreement, and I'm going to talk about them. As I said, in the description below, you can get my service agreement, which can hopefully inspire you to draw up your own service agreement and already get an idea on how to actually talk in a service agreement. You know, like lawyers have a certain different talk than we do as normal people. So the first point is scheduling. You need to just make sure that your clients understand that you carefully plan out your schedule and that any sort of cancellations, any kind of adjustments to the schedule force you to rework your visits, and that might actually carry a fee with it. Next up are confirmation of services. In there, you will let your clients know that once they have booked the services, you will send out a separate email with all the confirmed visits listed, what kind of service it is, what time frame, and what date. And they need to just make sure one more time that they really are correct. Next, the extension of service periods, that is really in place to protect the pet. So that comes into place, for example, when your client is on vacation or is on a business trip just away, and you are taking care of the pet for a certain amount of time. Like, let's say you take care of a dog for a week, and then at the end of the week, you don't hear from that client that they're back home. You are actually giving yourself the right to extend the service period by a day or 2 or 3, and make sure that the dog is taken care of, and until then you hear from that client that they're back or that they're on their way back. I gotta say, clients really appreciate that, because they might be even stranded on an airport, there might be an accident or something they might be involved in, and they might be in a hospital for a few days, and they might have not even have a way to tell you that something is going on, and this way you have the authority to just extend the service period and take care of the pet. Next up is cancellation policy, and that is probably the one policy that you will refer to back the most in the future with your clients, because clients are going to naturally cancel, and you have to set the rules. Okay, for example, for holiday visits, if they're canceling 2 days prior and you literally just booked them for 2 weeks and that particular spot is completely booked up, if they're just canceling, you cannot possibly just give them all the money back. So within your cancellation policy, for example, you can say, okay, 2 weeks before a certain holiday period, if you cancel visits, then you can only get that much money back. Or if a client comes home early, what do you do then? You would need to tell them, like, listen, you're not going to get any refund back if you come home early, or whatever rules you want to set in order to preserve the income of your business and the viability of your business. Next up is inclement weather. That's something you should definitely consider no matter where you live. It could be excessive amount of heat, it could be a snowstorm, it could be tornadoes. What are you doing in all these instances? For example, if inclement weather hits and you cannot even leave your house because it's just too dangerous. It could be, for example, that you say, okay, your neighbor will take care of the pet, and that's something you should already then have in your forms or your pet sitting software. You should have that question, okay, what neighbor could take care of your pet in case I just simply can't make it? Visitation times is another point in there. You will really talk about mostly that you cannot come at a particular time, but usually you're working with time frames. What kind of time frames are you working with for what kind of services? Foods and supplies. In there you will talk about, okay, there's got to be enough food for that pet, and also supplies in case an accident happens or whatever, in case I have to clean something up. There's got to be enough of it while you're away. Security system, in there you will just talk about that they have to let you know about any sort of security system you need to be aware of that can go off while you actually enter the house. So anything that you need to disarm and then arm again. Keys and lockbox, and that's something you need to think about. Do you want to use keys that you hold on to? I don't recommend it. I recommend using lockbox and requiring your clients to use lockboxes. And what are the rules for it? Do the lockboxes need to be near a door? Can it be anywhere in the property? Do 2 or 3 or whatever keys need to be in that lockbox while they're away? And so on. Medications, you need to be aware of any medications the dog takes. You can also put in there, okay, what kind of medications are you going to give and which medications are you refusing to give, or how much it even costs to give certain medications. Contagious disease is the next point. In there you basically state, okay, if your pet has a contagious disease, I won't be able to take care of it because I have all the other pets I need to take care of and I don't want to infect any other pet. Fleas is the next point. That's also something you have to think about. Okay, how do I want to deal with it? Because fleas, of course, when they're on a dog or a cat, they can jump over to you and then you can give it to the next pet. So in there is usually written that, listen, if your pet has fleas, you need to let me know immediately. We cannot take care of that pet for the next 1 or 2 weeks until that issue is taken care of and there are no fleas detected on that pet anymore. Veterinary care, in there you could discuss what kind of vet you are particularly using for clients' pets. You can also tell them what kind of emergency pet you're using or what kind of rules you apply to them, that they let you know what kind of vet they're using, and so on. Access to your home by others. That is a very important point. We pet sitters and dog walkers do not like it if anybody else, of course, is in the house while we're there, simply for liability reasons. And we know how to handle pets, but from my experience, a lot of times, for example, construction workers, cleaning personnel are better with that. But for example, construction workers, they just like to leave the doors open. And then of course, if the dog gets out while you're there and the construction worker is there, what are they gonna say? Who let the dog out through the door? So there's a ground rule to be set. You can let them know, listen, you have to let me know via phone call that somebody else is gonna be in the house and I won't come. I will come once you're done, or whatever rules you want to set that you're comfortable with. All pets under one roof. That is another point, and it's also a very important point because it basically tells your clients, no matter what kind of pets I'm taking care of, you need to tell me what other pets are also living there. It could be fish, it could be cats. For example, when clients are booking you for dog sitting, they might sometimes think, okay, there is an auto feeder for the cats, there is a cat litter box and the cat can just take care of herself and you do not need to do anything. Usually they do that in order to avoid to pay more money. So you need to know, okay, if there are 2 dogs, there's also 1 cat, because you also want to make sure, of course, that the cat is taken care of, even though the client thinks that the cat is completely self-sustaining, which she's not. So that is a very important point to just know, okay, how many pets are under one roof and who exactly is it and what kind of care does it need or does he or she need. Payment terms, that is one of my favorites. I highly recommend always taking the money up front in order to reserve that spot for that particular client. Otherwise, you will run after the bills. So in there, you will talk about the payment terms. If you do not take the money up front, you can also say, okay, once you receive that invoice, you will need to pay within 30 days, 14 days, 10 days, 7 days, or whatever not. Otherwise, you will incur a daily or monthly fee. Pictures. In there, you will basically say, listen, we're going to make pictures of your pet and we can also use it for marketing purposes. You need to state that in the service agreement because you will ultimately do it, because you will probably have an Instagram account, a website, and there you want to post pictures of the pet that you're taking care of, but you need permission, and this is how you get the permission. So those are by far not all the points that I'm covering in a service agreement or some other pet professionals are covering in their service agreement. As I said, in the description below, you can get my full service agreement and also all the questions, all the forms that you need. Next point is a pet sitting software. You should definitely get a pet sitting software. Do not even bother with a Google Calendar or a written calendar. It's not professional. You will get disorganized. You will forget things. Get a pet sitting software and be done with it. Within a pet sitting software, you can book all the visits. You have an overview of all the visits. You can assign visits to employees. You can generate invoices. You can send invoices. You have all the pet profiles. You have all the questions that you need to ask in order to take care of the pet and the client's home, and so on. You literally have everything you need under one roof. Some of the pet sitting softwares that I know of are Precise Pet Care. I'm personally using Precise Pet Care. You can get it at $15 per month. Then there is Time to Pet and also Pet Sitter Plus. And there are many, many others. With Precise Pet Care, Time to Pet, and Pet Sitter Plus, they're free trials. So I highly recommend really trialing at least 2 pet sitting softwares and just go with the one you're comfortable with. I have the direct link for all the pet sitting softwares that I've just mentioned down below in the description box. A logo. So a logo is kind of like a contentious subject. I've always had trouble with not spending hours and hours and days on a logo. Do not do that. Do not make the same mistake. I beg you. Go on canva.com. You can even put in logo and it gives you logos and you can personalize it and go with that one. I actually would go to that extent. Set your timer for 15 minutes. Go on canva.com, put in logo, and within 15 minutes, create your logo and go with that for now. Once you have a dog walking business that is actually running smoothly, you can overthink that logo. Next up is a website. You have 3 options with a website. First one is a done-for-you website. So you actually pay someone, a web designer, to create the website for you. I highly recommend that if you really don't want to deal with any of the technical stuff and if you're just not good with it, if you have never done it. Second option would be Wix. That is definitely cheaper, but you will definitely have to pay about $14, $15 for Wix or Squarespace a month because they will also host the website for you. But in there, they already have a website builder where you can build out the website really, really easily. I have heard great things from Wix. I'm going to link all the links below too. And the third option is using WordPress. WordPress you can use all by yourself and you don't have a monthly recurring fee, but you do have to know what you're doing. and you do have to host your website on a separate hosting provider. If you're already comfortable using WordPress, then that's a great option because you already know what you're doing, you know SEO, you know what keywords to plug in and so on. A lot of WordPress users, I mean, pretty much all of them, I almost think now, are using a separate WordPress builder in conjunction with WordPress. I'm doing that. I'm using WordPress and Divi builder, and it works out really amazingly because I have full control of my website and I have to pay that hosting fee, but I do have multiple websites, so I can literally host multiple websites under one hosting plan. Social media, the next point. Okay, so definitely get all your social media accounts set up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'm not so sure about, but definitely also, even if it's not social media per se, but Yelp and also Angie's List. And we will talk about the Google profile later, but that's also part of it. Building up your own email list, you can collect that from your website with an ebook or with some information or with a coupon code, with a discount code. And in exchange for that, you can collect the name and the email addresses of your clients, and that belongs to you. That is in contrast, in steep contrast to social media accounts. Yes, you should definitely have a presence on social media accounts, but don't go too crazy about that versus the email list, because social media can go belly up. We have seen it in the past. But if you really don't know what you're talking about and how to even do things, then use your time wisely for now and put your effort into some other marketing channels or just building out your business in general, and then take dedicated time to learn social media, like for example, even Facebook ads, and spend that time and money once you're ready for it. Business cards, I highly recommend also going on canva.com. I have the link below. There you can design the business cards. They already have great, amazing templates you can go with, and you can have them print straight from Canva and have them delivered to your door. So there's no easier way, because you don't have to connect a photo editing or graphic editing software with another provider. You can just do it all in Canva. Last but not least, a Google business profile. Just go on google.com/business, and there you can create your own Google business profile. I've already mentioned it in the past points. It's super, super important. It's how people find you if they're actually Googling, like let's say dog walking in Maryland, and you have a business that's listed on Google Business, it will pop up. So it's as easy as that. And from there, you can also collect reviews. You can also offer coupons. You can even post updates to your Google business profile. So it's pretty amazing. It's free. Just do it. We've made it to the last section called must-haves, and in there I'm only going to talk about 2 points because those are like the most 2 important points. The first point here is dog walking supplies. Of course, I have all my recommendations below. You can see it in the description box below. But to the list that you definitely need as dog walking supplies are, of course, leashes, poop bags, and you should definitely choose some cheap poop bags because you will need a lot of them. A certain type of harness, a collar, just in case. To us already happened many times before that the owners are putting the harness or the collar somewhere when they got home and we couldn't find it. So we actually used our own collar or harness on the dog in order to walk the dog. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a way to walk the dog. Some other supplies you need are a pet first aid kit, and I'm going to talk about this in the next point. Also a pet blanket for your car. If you're offering pet taxi service, or if you need to transport the pet in case of an emergency, if it's a bigger dog and it's dirty or it's bleeding or whatever, it's definitely good to have a pet blanket. And it's also good to have a pet safety belt that you can connect the harness or the collar with that the dog is attached to your car. And the last point is a pet first aid certification. You can do that in person, usually with the Red Cross, or you can also do that online. I'm going to list some resources below in the description box. There's so many emergencies that you should be prepared for that it's definitely vital to take a certification course, and also once you have employees, to also require your employees to take a certification course, and also freshen it up every like 6 months or a year, just so you stay on top of new research, or you just refresh your mind, because we all forget things. And we have come to the end. You made it. Now you know how to start a professional dog walking business. If you haven't yet, download my worksheet. In there I have all the points listed again, and the resources and links and other pertinent information that you may need, and you can just check it off as you go. If this was helpful for you, it's going to be super helpful for me if you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, and if you haven't yet, check out the other videos.